Good evening, everyone. This is Ashwin from the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship. I want to welcome you all to 60 Days, 60 Voices, our campaign in which we're having conversations with influencers, ecosystem actors, thinkers in the ecosystems, as well as doers who are thinking about small businesses and how they can support small businesses transition through this crisis. As everyone knows, and everyone's overused this word, this is a crisis that is unprecedented. And we at Game truly believe that unless there are new partnerships, non-traditional collaboratives, people working together who may have not worked with each other before this crisis, as much of that that we can enable and the ecosystem can pull through, I think we have a much better chance to fight this crisis and fight through it. In that vein, and introducing our guest for this conversation, Amit Basole. Amit is professor of economics at Azim Premji University and is the head of the Center for Sustainable Employment. If you've been reading about employment in general in the last 2 years, you would have either seen Amit cited or quoted in all of India's mainstream media. Amit's also written almost a State of the Union like book with Game called Micro Enterprise and Multidimensional Analysis. We'd love all of you to check out, which is really, I think, capturing the state of how micro enterprises are and have been for the last half a decade or so. So with that introduction, Amit, welcome to the podcast and thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for the introduction, Ashwin. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So just to kick things off, Amit, wanted to start with understanding just the challenges that micro entrepreneurs face today as we speak. So during the lockdown, with COVID at its peak, and how do you see these challenges evolving post-lockdown and perhaps as we come out of the crisis?
Yeah, so, obviously, I mean, it's clear to everyone that at the broad level, there's a sudden decline in demand. And there's this forced closure as well. So that has disrupted income streams for pretty much every micro enterprise, maybe barring a few exceptions. And compared to larger businesses, of course, micro enterprises are more vulnerable due to smaller scale, smaller amount of savings and so forth. So to endure during the lockdown when revenue streams have pretty much vanished, there are various coping strategies. So some may need to borrow, for example, and borrowing may be informal, forcibly, given the suddenness of the situation and so forth. So the borrowing may be at high rates. Others may need to even sell their assets post-lockdown. So right now, maybe most markets are not working, so this is not relevant. But post-lockdown, in order to survive or to pay off dues and debts, there may be some sell-off of assets that will happen with micro enterprises, and if that happens, that can have a long-term effect on output from the supply side. So we are not just talking about businesses bouncing back once the demand is back, but actually some persistent effects. Now, the lifting of the lockdown and the resumption of the economic activity, that will be a slow process. It's going to be a staged process just in terms of restrictions. And then we're talking about economic activity coming back, which is going to be an even slower process. So a recovery plan is essential, all the more since this crisis has come on top of an existing slowdown, as well as the usual persistent supply side problems, like cheap credit availability or power, transport, all kinds of things that we've discussed a lot, that you guys have also discussed a lot. This is coming on top of a demand crisis and supply side problems. So we need to have that clarity when we think of a recovery process. Finally, we should think separately about what could be called nano enterprises, which are really the tiny 1-person, 2-person kind of firms who are mostly subsistence driven, right? And they're the most vulnerable. They're the most difficult to reach as well as businesses because there's no databases or registrations here. So a household level cash transfer is probably the best way of reaching that segment. Nevertheless, some creative, I think, options could be tried. For example, street vending licenses could be used as a way, as a database to reach out to some of these nano enterprises, which we can't reach otherwise. For enterprises that are slightly bigger, post-COVID lockdown, sort of, how do we reach them to enable, let's say, some kind of fiscal support? Maybe the GST mechanism, maybe Udyog Aadhaar or other kinds of databases is what we need to think about. We need to think creatively to reach a very large enterprise database, which is mostly informal.
Understood. And I think we've been having a lot. We've been talking a lot at Game about this kind of liquidity crunch and how can we get cash infusion to micro businesses, like you said, and not nano necessarily, but micro businesses, especially those who are well performing and pre-COVID were not kind of sick units. And it is worthwhile saving them. They will protect jobs. They are resilient firms, and this crisis is one to resolve. However, our sense is that kind of government response and government transmission channels and vaccination are largely focused on kind of the formal channels, Aadhaar, GST, so on. And the vast swath of informal micro entrepreneurs are unlikely to be reached. I think one of our partners floated a number that investment grade firms are likely to be 17% of all MSMEs in India. And so almost 83% of firms are unlikely to be reached because of, well, a flight to safety, flight to quality. What is your reaction been to, or your sense been on government response? And how can we think about reaching kind of these informal micro entrepreneurs that form a large base of the MSME spectrum of enterprise and create a lot of jobs?
Yeah, this is a difficult problem. This crisis has really exposed our vulnerability in a sense of the micro enterprise ecosystem, which is what we all knew all along, the high degree of informality. Now, so far, we haven't seen much other than credit-based policies and those, cheap credit and so forth, which may work for that small minority that is already in the formal net. But where informal credit is largely operating and where firms are not registered, none of these policies are really going to matter. So immediately what is really going to see them through is actually the welfare side of things, the cash transfers and so forth that are being done through Jan Dhan, or the various state governments have their own version of some cash transfer. That's a kind of a direct cash support for consumption of households, but really that's the only thing we have as of now that has the breadth to reach these tiny enterprises. So there's an urgent need to think beyond this. How do we deliver, let's say, some amount of business support? So we are not talking about consumption support, but something to bring back, let's say, a nano enterprise or a micro enterprise that has been moribund for a while. What kind of support does that look like? And I'm not talking about right now wage support or something like that, which will apply to a small section of MSMEs which do have wage workers, but the vast majority of them don't have wage workers. They're just working on their own. So we need to think about those too. For those who do have wage workers, I guess wage support is a good idea. How to deliver it is a tricky thing. It's not as easy as in the developed economies, where it has already been done. But we do need to think seriously about it. How we could do it.
And Amit, just to get some clarity on almost the segmentation that we're discussing. So there are obviously nano enterprises, and they comprise a significant chunk of India's enterprise base. Depending on how you define it, if you say they're largely solo entrepreneurs, that comes to 40-50% if I'm not wrong. And then you have these kind of informal micro enterprises, less than 5, less than 7 employees, and then you have the larger MSME. So at least for the nano enterprises, you're saying base support makes sense. For the informal micro enterprises, it's unclear what are the mechanisms and what are the solutions. And for the larger formal MSMEs, the channels are clear, but obviously we've also seen some amount of resistance from banks.
Right.
There has been a flight to safety and so on.
Yes.
And we've seen resistance from banks to lend to NBFCs, for example, who will then go on to things.
Yeah.
So really, I think for those two segments, the informal micro entrepreneur and the formal enterprises, how can we stimulate credit? I guess one is an access question, one is a risk capital or a risk mitigation question.
Yeah.
So what is your kind of sense of how can we improve access and for one segment and improve risk mitigation?
Right. Yeah, these are very, excellent questions, and I'm afraid I don't have, the kind of clarity that we really need right now. I can say that at least for the last segment, the one that is the easiest to reach, and where the problem is not how to identify or how to support them, but either liquidity is not flowing for various legacy reasons. We've got this sort of legacy NBFC banking sector problem going on. So that obviously compounds the issue. Right now, I would say that the situation is serious enough that we need to maybe consider just bypassing the system if we can. Right? By which I mean there have been various sort of bigger level fiscal firepower issues that have been out there, including monetizing deficits and so forth. So can we think of making credit available in a direct way through the RBI, where we are not relying on usual liquidity channels, which are really choked up for various reasons that you mentioned. Now, I realize this is a high-risk strategy, obviously, because it may compound NPA problems and so forth. But I do have a genuine concern that what you said, which is we can get pump all kinds of liquidity into banks, but if it's not coming out the other end into firms, then it's pointless. And I don't have any much more creative solutions on this, but I think the problem is quite important. It's seriously, we should take that possibility seriously that the credit just won't go. On the middle segment, that's a really tricky segment because on the one hand, there's no immediate survival need in terms of consumption and welfare. So we're not talking about people who might just starve or something like that because they don't have an income. But on the other hand, they are people who can't be easily reached still because they are informal. So how do we enable maybe formalization, maybe like you said in your sort of the questions that you raise, can we use this crisis as an opportunity in some way? And certainly one way would be to try to get a formal process going for many of these enterprises without punitive regulation. One of the big things that comes up when you start talking about being in a formal setup is, are my costs going to significantly increase, compliance costs and so forth. So is there a way to do this so that it incentivizes coming into a net right now because there's a crisis and people are looking for help, extend help in a way that creates a database, right? And send out enough transparent signals that it is not going to be used in a punitive way, but will be there just to aid recovery.
Yeah.
I know that's vague, but that's.
I think on the formalization piece, it seems clear that there is an opportunity, and a lot of people want to see some of that structural change happen in the MSME segment. But I think the question, like you raised, is around trust in formalization and the cost-benefit analysis that entrepreneurs do on formalization. Right. Can we make that? Can we really build up and pump up the benefit side using this crisis? It's really how some people are thinking about it, and not take a more carrot approach rather than a stick approach. Right. I think that takes me to some other analysis that folks like Anant Nageshwaran have done on what kind of businesses create jobs in India, and it seems like a lot of the informal, a large swath of informal entrepreneurs remain informal for a really, really long time, and that challenge of formalizing them, making them part of the system, is incredibly hard, while it seems to be a much easier lever to encourage younger firms, growth-oriented entrepreneurs to start forming. So in terms of picking these levers, some suggestions have come in saying, hey, they've remained informal, they're likely to remain informal, growth prospects are low. It's okay if we almost take a save what works, shed what doesn't approach, and really focus on these younger formal firms and really enhance their ability to be resilient and create jobs in the long term. How do you think about some thinking like that in this current context?
It's certainly an attractive approach. It's also much more pragmatic because we have had long-term problems with formalization, and many creative ways have been devised to escape formalization and so forth as well. So I can see that this approach does have that value. On the other hand, it is, when you talk about job creation, it is true that younger firms create jobs. So actually, it's if you look at it this way, small firms versus young firms, and of course, young firms tend to be also small firms. So there's some interesting research actually by Radhika Kapoor at ICRIER, which shows that job creation is, young firms do that more rather than necessarily just small firms. There are many firms that stay small and don't create much employment. So that dovetails with the approach that you mentioned. On the other hand, there's the informal space is very large, and I myself have been looking at what would be called traditional sector informal enterprises, so artisanal type industries, for example, textiles, embroidery, all these kinds of things. I've been looking at those a little bit more closely over the last 10 years or so. And there I see that there's plenty of job creation, and there are well-established informal systems of pretty much everything, including credit and so forth. Um, there, it's not that they are not productive members of the economy or that they're not creating jobs, but they are happy to stay informal for various cost-benefit reasons that you mentioned. And now is the time when it really, in a way, I think, comes back to haunt them, not only them, but also the economy as a whole, that it's very difficult to reach them in any systematic way with any kind of support. So it's a price that we are paying for looking away and letting this sort of system be. And I'll emphasize again that there is a real trust deficit. What you said, on both sides. We, as a state, look suspiciously at businesses, and the businesses look suspiciously at the state. So it is necessary to identify those places in India where a certain partnering has actually worked, so that we can learn some lessons. This is a long-term thing. This is not something that's going to happen over a few weeks or months, but we need to understand where has mutual trust developed, and where has local government, for example, really helped local entrepreneurs in a productive way. And then maybe some clues are there to a long-term structural change happening.
Got it. Amit, quickly pivoting towards, I guess, what can we do from a research and knowledge standpoint to really help the ecosystem? One of the things that we're trying to do at GAME is partner with LEAD at Kriya University and really do a longitudinal study of about 2,000 odd entrepreneurs and track their journey through COVID. To see that maybe in 3 months, if they do access some kind of working capital loans, is that enough, for example? Or in 3 months or 6 months down the line, if some amount of labor is returning, which sectors are they returning in, for example? Where are they now and why? So to be able to answer those kind of questions, so that's one effort that we're pulling together. But what are other, I guess, knowledge assets that we can create and think about? And this is kind of almost a call to action for the ecosystem that will help folks like you, policymakers, funders, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, this is very important, and I almost feel like this crisis has given us second opportunity, something that we missed during demonetization. Right, that we knew that demonetization had a very large impact on micro enterprises, but I at least did not see some large-scale studies that really looked at it longitudinally, like you're saying, and tried to understand what happens when such a shock is delivered to the system. So this time around, I think we should do that. We should not miss that chance to understand what such shocks do, and they reveal a lot about the system. They reveal the pressure points and the vulnerabilities and so forth. So something like what you're doing, the survey would be essential. How did businesses, exactly what is the nature of the impact? And more importantly, when economic activity started back, what were the persistent effects? This is really what I want to know. That is it a spring that just bounces back? What prevents it if it doesn't? What are the long-term supply side problems that arise? Do they arise? What are they? This kind of research is critical to understanding this impact. And then to go back to what I was saying earlier, some research on what informal entrepreneurs think about formalization now that such a shock has happened. That are they more open to this idea? What type of things would they be comfortable with? And it can't be a one-way street, obviously, with the government. They have to also agree to certain things. So is it taxation? Is it regulations of various kinds that has to come in? But again, in a climate of trust. And some research on what entrepreneurs are saying across the board, all three categories that you identified. We need to know what are they saying about how being reachable by state support will help if and when something like this happens again, and of course how it will help to get out of the hole as well.
Excellent. On that note, Amit, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. I hope this kind of inspires other partners in the ecosystem to look into these questions, try to answer them, and even reach out to you. I think I know that at least the question on formalization is something that a lot of people want to answer, especially in this crisis. So I think I'm excited about the prospect that we can build a small group of mission-aligned actors towards that goal. Thank you so much, Amit, for your time.
Welcome. Thank Thanks for having me.